Hi, we're still in the accounting cycle and we're done discussing the journalizing, which is the step 1 in the accounting cycle, and we're also done with the posting, which is the step 2. Now we're going to proceed to the step 3, which is the trial balance preparation. But before actually preparing for a trial balance, we need to complete another process known as footing. Footing is the process of totaling all the amounts of the debit and all the amounts in the credit. If the debit total is greater than the credit total, the amount of difference is placed in the money column of the debit side. However, if the debit total is less than the credit total, the amount of difference is placed in the money column of the credit side. Okay, so now we will start on footing the amounts in the general ledger, starting off with the cash in bank. Let's total first the debit amount. So we have 850,000 plus 100,000 plus 45,000. So the total debits is 995,000. And then for the credit, we have 150,000 plus 4,000 plus 10,000 plus 1,000 plus 60,000 plus 27,000. So the total credit is 252,000. So 995,000 and 252,000. So there's a difference of 743,000. So this is written in the debit side since the debit total is greater than the credit total. And then don't forget the double rule. Moving on to account number 2, and that is accounts receivable. So we have here a single debit amount of 80,000 and a single credit amount of 45,000. So what we're going to do here is to get the difference between the 80,000 and 45,000. And then the difference is 35,000. And we are writing it in the debit side since the debit total is greater than the credit total. And then don't forget the double rule. Account number 3, estimated and collectible accounts, is blank. So we're going to proceed to the next account, and that is account number 4, laundry supplies. So we only have a debit amount of 90,000. So let's just double rule that. Next one is account number 5, laundry equipment, and we only have one debit amount, and that is 150,000 of a laundry machine. So we're just going to double rule it. And then let's move on to the next account, account number 6, and apparently it's blank. So we're going to move on to the next. So we have notes payable of 100,000. So since this is the only entry in the notes payable account, so what we're going to do is to simply double rule it. Next one is account number 8, which is accounts payable. The accounts payable account has only one debit amount, and that is the 60,000 pesos partial payment of accounts payable, and only one credit amount, which is the 90,000 laundry supplies and credit. So the difference between the 60,000 and the 90,000 is 30,000. And this is written in the credit side since the credit amount of 90,000 is greater than the debit amount of 60,000, and we're going to double rule the 30,000. Next is account number 9, which is accrued advertising, and there is no entries for accrued advertising account, so therefore we're going to proceed to account number 10, and we have S. Santos Capital. There is only one transaction posted in here in S. Santos Capital, and that is the initial investment of 850,000. So we're going to double rule this figure. Let's move on to account number 11, and that is S. Santos Rowing. So there is only one transaction posted in this account, and that is the withdrawal by owner for 10,000 pesos. So we're going to double rule it. And let's move on to the next. We have income and expense summary, account number 12, and there is no transaction posted in here. So let's move on to the next. We have account number 13, which is the laundry income, and we only have one transaction posted in here, and that is the laundry service and credit worth 80,000. So let's just double roll this one. And then moving on to account number 14 and account number 15. So both accounts are empty. So let's proceed to the next, account number 16, and we have salaries expense. There is only one transaction posted in the salaries expense account, and that is the payment of salaries on March 30, 2019, the amount of which is 10,000 pesos. So let's just double rule the amount, the 10,000, and then let's proceed to account number 17, the rent expense. Like salaries expense, there is only one transaction posted in the rent expense account, and that is on the same date, March 30, 2019, which is the payment of rent for 5,000 pesos. So let's just double roll this one. Let's move on to account number 18, and that is utilities expense. So there is only one transaction involved, or there is only one transaction posted in utilities expense account, and that is the payment of utilities on March 30, 2019 for 12,000 pesos. So let's just double roll this figure. And then account number 19, laundry supplies expense, is a blank one. So let's proceed to account number 20, taxes and licenses. So we only have one amount here, and that is the payment on taxes and licenses on March 30, 2019, and it's 4,000 pesos. So let's just double roll this one. Moving on to account number 21, advertising expense, and it's a blank one. So let's proceed to account number 22, interest expense, and we only have one transaction posted in here, and that is the payment of interest on March 17, 2019, the amount of which is 1,000 pesos. So let's double rule the 1,000 pesos. At this point, we're done inputting the accounts in the general ledger, and we are now ready to proceed to the next step of the accounting cycle, and that is the trial balance preparation, the step 3 of the accounting cycle. A trial balance is a report summarizing the debit and credit entries of each account in the general ledger. So basically, sa paggawa ng trial balance, ang kailangan natin gawin is that kopyahin natin yung mga accounts with open balances, or yung mga accounts na may debit o kaya may credit balances. In addition to that, trial balance proves the equality of debits and credits. Alright, so right now we will be preparing the trial balance, and we will be needing this one, an empty journal. So on top of the journal, we're going to write the heading. So it starts with the name of the business, so that's why we have Davao Laundry Services. And then next to that is the title of the report, which is the trial balance. And then lastly, the date. So it's March 31, 2019. So that is the end of the accounting cycle for Davao Laundry Services. So we're going to write the account titles here in the largest column, and then the debit, and then the credit. So as I mentioned earlier, when preparing for the trial balance, what we have to do is just to copy or to list down all the accounts in the general ledger with open balances, or those accounts with debit or credit balances. So let's start. We have here account number 1, cash in bank, with a debit balance of 743,000 pesos. So this is an example of an account with open balance. So we're going to copy this one in the trial balance. So we have cash in bank of 743,000 debit. Next is account number 2, which is accounts receivable with debit balance of 35,000 pesos. So we're going to copy this one in the trial balance. So we have accounts receivable 35,000. And then we're going to skip the account number 3 since wala siyang laman. So let's move on to account number 4, laundry supplies with debit entry or debit balance of 90,000. So we have laundry supplies 90,000. Next is account number 5, laundry equipment, and it has a debit balance of 150,000. So we're going to copy it in the trial balance. So we have laundry equipment, 150,000 debit. Moving on to account number 6. So blanco siya, so we need to skip this one. And let's proceed to account number 7. So notes payable. Notes payable has a credit balance of 100,000. So kopyahin natin siya sa trial balance natin. So we have notes payable, the amount of which is 100,000 credit. So let's proceed to account number 8, accounts payable, and it has a credit balance of 30,000. So, kopyahin din natin siya. Accounts payable with a credit balance of 30,000. Next is accrued advertising. So, walang laman. So, skip natin siya. And let's move on to account number 10 as Santos Capital. There is a credit balance of 850,000. So, as Santos Capital, 850,000. Next, as Santos Drawing with debit balance of 10,000. So, kopyahin natin siya. We have S. Santos Drawing, debit, 10,000. Next, income and expense summary. So, wala siyang laman. So, let's move on to the next. Account number 13. So, we have laundry income with credit balance of 80,000. So, lista natin siya sa trial balance. So, again, laundry income, the amount of which is 80,000 credit. Accounts number 14 and 15 are both empty. So, proceed tayo sa next account. And that is account number 16, salaries expense with debit balance of 10,000 pesos. So, kopyahin natin siya sa trial balance. So, salaries expense at 10,000 debit. Account number 17 is rent expense with debit balance of 5,000. So, let's copy this one and the trial balance. So, we have rent expense, 5,000 debit. Account number 18 is utilities expense and it has a debit balance of 12,000. So, kopyahan natin siya sa trial balance. So, we have utilities expense, 12,000 debit. Laundry supplies expense is empty, so let's move on to account number 20, taxes and licenses for 4,000 debit. So we have taxes and licenses, 4,000 debit. And then advertising expense, account number 21, empty siya, so let's proceed to account number 22. Interest expense with a debit balance of 1,000 pesos. So, kopyahin na natin si interest expense sa trial balance. So, interest expense, the amount of which is 1,000 pesos. Okay, so since the interest expense is the last account title in the general ledgers, so the next thing that we're going to do is to total all the debit amounts and then total all the credit amounts. So, we have here that for the debit first, we have 743,000 plus 35,000 plus 90,000 plus 150,000 plus 10,000 plus another 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 12,000 plus 4,000 plus 1,000. So the total debit is 1,060,000. Now for the credit, so we have 100,000 plus 30,000 plus 850,000 plus 80,000. So the total credit is also 1,060,000. So our trial balance here is imbalance since the total debit is equal to the total credit. And of course, do not forget to double rule the balances. Kailangan talagang may double rule yung balances natin. Ayan. If the total debit of our trial balance is not equal to the total credit, we call it out of balance. And if our trial balance is out of balance, kabahan na tayo because it's an indication that there is something wrong with our work. And kailangan nating i-review yung trabaho natin in order to correct it. Kasi nga, dapat yung total debit is always equal to the total credit.